I feel like we have to start with there has to be like a funny intro thing, right?
Yeah.
That starts it, and then
Yeah.
you cut to an actual conversation.
Okay. Would you have a funny word?
I don't know. It's like a funny sentence. You gotta it's gotta be something. It's just like, we spend our careers fixing other people's lives on camera, but we have a remarkable time in fixing our own. Put that at the beginning.
Perfect. That's a great start to the first episode here. We're basically going to do a podcast about editing as our industry is
Slowly collapsing around us.
With the threat of AI basically coming to take over the jobs. I mean, we could be AI right now.
That's true. You don't know. This could be all deep fake.
This could totally be all deep fake.
We should just start. We should just get into it.
Welcome to this first episode of Sips and Clips. My name is Lian McFalls.
And my name is Michael Schusterman.
And we decided to make this podcast because we were thinking during this time that, well, I'm unemployed. Michael has been
fortunate enough to be gainfully employed.
Yes. Kind of to pass the time, and we don't know where this is going to go, and we don't know where it's going to end up, but we're going to have a lot of fun. And Michael, what are you sipping on today?
I'm sipping on a watered down Starbucks almond milk latte.
Almond milk latte.
An almond milk latte, which is the superior of the alternative milks. For all my lactose-free friends out there, they know what I'm talking about.
No, you don't do like the oat milk or anything?
Listen, let me tell you about oat milk. Oat milk is great. There's nothing wrong with oat milk. Oat milk is tasty. But if my dairy-free milk isn't slowly drying up the California Valley through its overuse of water in a desert, then I'm not entirely sure that I want it in my body.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer.
What are you sipping on?
I'm sipping on a delicious strawberry acai refresher from Starbucks as well. It's got the nice freeze-dried strawberries, and you replace it with lemonade and light ice. It will not fill the cup as much, so you get more liquids. That was a trick that I learned from my cousin. Shout out to her. And it's delicious.
I love all the unironically love the fast food hacks that people come up with. This was like when my first job ever, I worked at McDonald's. And if you wanted fresh fries, you could order the fries unsalted. And if you order them unsalted, then they have to remake them because all of the fries that's in the back are salted. So they have to make you a fresh batch of fries. And this is what people would do. They would come and they would order them unsalted. And then as I went to go hand them to them, they said, "Oh, sorry, I meant to say salted." And then I would look at these people and have to go back and salt these unsalted fries.
Oh my God.
But that's how they got fresh fries every time.
It's a beautiful hack, but I do feel so bad for those workers. So
it's violent.
I don't want to.
It's class warfare.
I'm already working at McDonald's and I have to now make this whole new batch of fries because
it's horrible.
Well, I guess it's enough food talk.
Yeah, so what is this? Right? What are we doing here?
We're going to talk about, both me and Michael work in the film industry in post-production. Michael is an assistant editor and I am also an assistant editor, and we're just going to kind of talk about the steps that we use to get into the industry and discuss different areas such as managing people and work-life balance, the hierarchy, parenting, and everything else that sort of goes into it that you may not be able to learn anywhere else. Basically, our experiences of our friends, and anyone else that we can sucker into coming on this podcast.
Yeah, this first episode is just going to be Lian and I talking. And then as we go on, the hope is we're going to bring on some other people who have some more varied experiences to share, their specific viewpoints, their specific, issues they've had to deal with and things like that. And, for example, neither Lian and I are parents. And so, it's an opportunity for Lian and I to talk to somebody who does our job, but, has kids and what that's like and what they can teach us and, what we can share and learn about, just about all kinds of different facets of the industry.
Michael, why don't we start with you?
Ooh, exciting.
How did you get interested in the industry? Well, maybe I should start with the projects that you've worked on.
Oh, my accolades.
Your accolades.
My accolades.
We're gonna jump right into that.
Yeah,
I mean, what your accolades are.
Comparatively to other people in our industry, my work repertoire is fairly small, I would say, comparatively. But I worked on my first major film I worked on was for Netflix called Don't Look Up, and I did that in the pandemic. After that, I did a small pilot for HBO for a TV show called Winning Time, and then bounced around in some indie film stuff that was amazing. Worked on a rom-com for Netflix called Your Place or Mine, and then most recently finished a sci-fi feature for New Regency called The Creator.
Oh, yeah, The Creator is also on Hulu still, right?
I think it's on Hulu now.
Still streaming on Hulu.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You
so if you want to watch
it,
if you haven't seen it, if you want to watch John David Washington run through a bunch of fields and get shot at, you could go watch it. Lian, what about you? What are your accolades?
I started my career in Hallmark films. Did a lot of those Christmas hour and a half ones that you see on TV that are constantly running during the holidays. From there, I did some straight to video movies in the Universal's 1440 entertainment division. And then bounced around here and there, did some TV shows and did some fill-ins for a few films. And then my biggest accolade, I guess, would be The Batman with Robert Pattinson and Paul Dano. From there, I did Masters of the Air on Apple TV. And most recently, I just worked on the Robert Zemeckis film called Here, Here, that is coming out in November of 2024.
You guys have a trailer yet?
I don't think so.
No, not yet.
I think they're still working on it. They kind of just finished recently. So still waiting for the
build-up.
The build-up and the marketing to get going with that one. So, Michael, what kind of got you into this industry? Or is that more of like is that a long-winded question? Is that a loaded question?
It's not a loaded question. It's a probably not terribly exciting of an answer. I mean, I got into it, funny enough, initially when I, started getting interested in film stuff in general, it wasn't really film that got me into it. I think whenever I talk to people here in LA, oftentimes, you'll have conversations with people that are like, oh, I got into the movie business because, my parents showed me Star Wars, mm-hmm. or, I used to watch, The Truman Show with, my dad every Sunday or something like that. Like there's always this very classic Hollywood, I fell in love with the silver screen or whatever. That was not me.
Or they saw a film that changed
Saw a film that changed everything. Absolutely not me. Absolutely not me. I was just like every person in my age demographic, fell in love with YouTube. And it was just like YouTube filmmakers and YouTube creators and things like that. And it was, honestly listening to them talking on their podcasts and things about that, about just their time working in Hollywood, that kind of piqued my interest. And then when I started actually doing, just some light filmmaking stuff in middle school and high school, I just kind of got the bug for the actual making of the stuff. It took me a while to actually fall into the culture. I fell in love with the tools more so than I fell in love with the product first.
Okay. I was going to say, I don't think I actually knew your starting point.
Yeah.
So this is all new information for me.
Very exciting. Michael lore.
The Michael lore.
But the first instance of it was we had a video production class in my middle school, and we would just do the morning announcements every day. And, I was caught at that cross point between watching YouTube every day, watching Minecraft YouTubers every day. Watching Minecraft YouTubers and watching a lot of Rooster Teeth and a lot of Corridor Digital and stuff like that. That it was kind of caught between that cross section and then doing these morning announcements that I was like, oh my God, I can't stop doing this every day. And then editorial and post-production, we had a girl in my class, in that video production class in middle school, and her dad worked at Apple. And as like a gift to the class, we all got licenses to Final Cut Pro X right when it came out.
Final Cut Pro X?
Final Cut Pro X, not 7.
My God, you're so young.
I know. It was like right when it came out. It was like they announced Final Cut Pro X. We all got licenses for the school computers. And I became like the kid in class who was obsessed with this piece of software and learned everything else about it. Huh?
So everybody came to you.
Everybody came to me to fix their projects and fix it. Exactly. So like I was just the Final Cut Pro kid. And I just kept doing it. I was just like really into it. And then when I inevitably, was looking at what I wanted to do for a career, it was kind of like, well, this is the thing that I, for whatever reason, become so myopically focused about versus anything else in my life. So I guess I'll try this. So, went to film school, looked at all the different career paths, and then just kind of kept being geared back towards editing. Because, even like no matter how far I got away from it, whether I was on set or, for a period of time, I was trying to be a colorist, and then I was sound mixing a lot and doing all these other things. It all kept coming back to post. It all kept coming back to editorial.
Right.
So then, kind of when the pandemic started and I needed a job, I graduated school and I needed a job. I just kind of, hoping for it, but I kind of fell into it. And then I just, have been in love with it every day, and haven't stopped. When
did you graduate again?
I graduated Chapman University, class of 2021.
2021.
2021. Wow. I technically graduated a bit earlier because I graduated a semester early. So
okay.
I was out of school a bit earlier. And then I started working on Don't Look Up while I was in my senior year of college. So I hadn't actually graduated yet.
Oh, I actually didn't know.
Yeah, when I was PAing.
Oh.
Yeah. I had 2 classes left my last semester. And I was just doing them remotely. So I got the job PAing on Don't Look Up. And they were like, I told them, I was like, listen, I do have to finish school.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, can you just listen to, and I told them, I was like, I only have these 2 lectures. They're like, I just have to remote into class. So I would Zoom into class while I was working. So like while I was working remotely from my machine, doing P-card receipts and things like that, I had my computer open at home, and then with my my work machine on it, and then I had my laptop to the side with a Zoom class on it that I would attend.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, that was, I guess, the good thing about working remote or going to school remote. You could do stuff like that. You could do
stuff like that. Yeah.
I did not have that experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It was totally, it was like we can get into this later at some point, but how the pandemic was for us. But like the pandemic for me was just this mixture of like so many highs and so many lows just combined together. In this way that like my life prior to that had always just been like, fairly consistent, but the pandemic was just like big success and then big failures, just kind of constantly back and forth, So, that was one of those like, lucky things.
Right. Yeah. I have I guess it's not quite a long-winded story about how I got in, but also I was the same as Michael, where nothing really, actually when I was a kid, I didn't watch films at all. I was very big into, if I saw the film and I liked it, I would just watch the same film over and over again. So it's like I could quote films, but only
the handful you'd seen.
The handful that I'd seen, and usually it consisted of Disney films or films like Mrs. Doubtfire or Harry Potter. And I actually, when I was younger, I found my grandfather's camcorder, and I would run around the neighborhood with my friends, and we'd film like Amanda Show skits and like just like silly stuff and like news stories. Never thinking it was going to be a career or anything, but I was always fascinated. I remember the day that I found out that in the camera you could like have it fade out or fade in or pixelate it. I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. I'm gonna like stop this recording as it's fading out. And it was just like so cool to me.
Yeah. I don't remember. I had something similar. I don't remember. I think it must have been my uncles or a camcorder or something like that, it had the ability to pause a recording like in the middle of it. So you
And
could
then
like
start it.
record it and you could start the same recording again. So the recording would have like you could basically edit, right? Like you could do an edit in camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I do distinctively remember that being the first moment I ever thought of like the concept of like an edit telling a story, was that where like you could have somebody on this camcorder going like, you know, have somebody point a stick at them and say like abracadabra vanish, and then pause the camera
And have them walk
and
out
have
of
them
frame.
walk out of frame and have them resume camera, and they would disappear. I remember being
Yeah.
like, "Kid, this is crazy that
Oh,
you can
yeah.
do this. Oh my God. You know, this is wild."
But yeah, we sort of grew out of the filming stuff, and I was in the band. I played clarinet from 4th grade all the way through college, actually.
Wow,
Marching
Jesus, I
band.
didn't know that.
Yeah, I went all the way through to like junior year of college. And one of our songs for high school band was we played a like Pirates of the Caribbean medley. So we played all the different soundtracks kind of like blended into one piece. And my director kind of was like, oh, it'd be great if someone put together clips from the film in so that for us to play behind the footage. So I was kind of like, I had no idea what I was doing, but I kind of put it all together through little Windows Movie Maker at the time.
Classic.
And as I was doing it, I was just consumed all day. Like there was no concept of time. There was no concept of like I'm getting tired, I need to stop. I just kept going. And you know, it ended up playing at the concert, and it was cool, but I kind of had this, this can be a career.
Yeah.
Like this is a possibility.
Yeah, this is a job.
This is a job.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I got started. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what to look for in colleges. Because I originally thought, I want to put audio to video. And it's kind of like, well, that's not really, it's almost like too specific.
Yeah.
And so I just made it broader, and I said editing, with again, no idea about what exactly editing was. In my head, it was just an umbrella term for putting audio with video.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got started. Also tried to do different things such as cinematography, and I considered directing, I considered sound for a little bit, but everything just came back to editing.
You know, I think it's relevant to ask this because, you know, in our business, like you said, editing is this umbrella term that can just be so many different things. You know, we have,
Right.
you know, you and I specifically, for the most part, are scripted feature assistant editors, right? And that's like that's like 4 words that describe a very specific job.
It's very niche.
Right. It is a very niche thing, right? Like, so, you know, there are, you know, just if someone's listening to this and they're thinking about editorial or they're not that into post-production in general, like we should explain that like editing, like you said, is an umbrella term that has a lot of different little kind of micro industries in it. I have friends that are editors for YouTubers, right? And they have no assistant editors. They have no post-production facilities. They have no assistants. It's just them. Yeah. Just, or they're, you know, they edit for Twitch streamers or something like that, right? They do the whole thing, top to bottom. You can be an assistant editor in television. You can be an editor in television. Like you said, you did those Hallmark films. You know, that's a whole different beast of a product than something like a narrative, than a studio feature film.
Oh, completely. I mean, it comes down to, a lot of it can come down to budget.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. And that's going to totally just change how this process works. So my broader question is like, you know, of all of these things, you know, you graduate from film school, okay, with an editing degree or with an editing emphasis, whatever it is. How did you as a person decide what I want to do is this specifically, you know, scripted narrative content, right? As opposed to reality or marketing or YouTubers or, you know, any number of different things.
I think it was just I wanted to work on big films.
Yeah.
I wanted to work on things that were known and seen in the theaters by people. And then it kind of turned into the big dream of I want to be an Oscar award-winning editor. Long dream. And it was kind of like, I don't really know. I almost wanted to shoot big first. And if it was something that I decided I didn't want to do, or something that was like, oh, this isn't quite what I was expecting from it, and maybe I actually don't like this film process and I want to do TV. But I did know that I wanted to work on the big blockbuster studio films to start with.
And then almost work back from there. That if you're like, if I don't like this, I can go do something else.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's shoot for this big goal.
Let's shoot for the stars.
Yeah, and then if I don't like it, then I can try something else.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, how did you get into? What made you decide on narratives? Or you just kind of fell into it?
The thing is, like, I don't know that I set out to do feature films. I think it kind of found me, really, more so than anything else. Like, for most of my life now, have just been enamored with I love the way people make stuff in film, like that. Filmmaking really just fascinates me in this way. It just ticks a corner of my brain that nothing else really kind of does. And so obviously, in film school and as a kid, I would think to myself like, oh, well, wouldn't it be cool to work on a Steven Spielberg movie, right? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool to work on a Marvel movie? Wouldn't it be cool to do, any number of those things? But I don't think I ever set out with the intention of being like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to work on, $100 million AAA feature films. Like that was not my intention or goal at any point. I think I was open to it if it happened, but it wasn't like wasn't my prerogative. My prerogative was to just find projects that I thought were interesting, and find consistency in the work. And that just was kind of it. And then the work came to me, and it just ended up mostly being kind of scripted stuff. Even in our business, scripted films, like you said, it really depends on your budget. No two films are the same, right?
Yeah.
Like you could have, even from the same studio, if you're making $100 million movie for, the same production company, it's going to be different every time, right? Like the way movies are done is so unique to the given movie that even when I say like, well, Lian, you do scripted feature films, in many ways that's a nothing sentence, right? Like it doesn't necessarily say anything about what your job is on a day-to-day basis, because the job can be so different depending on, whether or not that movie is $150 million or whether or not that movie is $100,000, right? Tremendously different kinds of projects.
And I think that's kind of what we're going to sort of dive into a little bit on this podcast. We're going to kind of talk about why, we talk about it now, but the reason why it's also so different is because the budget would be just to figure out how many people you can hire on. So if you're an editor, you could still have the task of an assistant if you don't have the budget to hire on an 100%. Assistant. And that would be mainly the indie kind of features. And usually, not always, but for the most part, bigger studios, you got the budget to hire on more people. And I know as an assistant, I've also had to do visual effects work.
Yeah.
Because they don't have a visual effects editor, but they can't bring on a visual effects editor.
Or you have to do music editing, or you have to do sound editing, or you have to do any number of things because X person doesn't exist because of whatever you have to deal with.
Yeah, and I also think a large part of why it's so different too is that you're working with different people and everybody has their own way of doing things.
Yeah.
That makes it different every time. Even if you're working with the same editor for multiple projects, you could still have a different supervisor that might do something different or want something different.
There's different company policies.
Or you have to adjust to what other people might want. So it's not really, there's no one way of
to do the job.
Doing the job, solving problems. It's just different. It's different every time.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what makes our jobs a little hard, I think, to describe to people.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if you've had this, but sometimes people just ask me, like, what do you do? And I'll say, well, I'm an assistant editor. And they go, well, what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard, like, you think it's like, well, I assist the editor. Like, that's
Right.
the easiest sentence there.
Mm-hmm.
But in many ways, assisting the editor is the easiest part of my job.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically,
100%.
right? Like that specific sentence honestly doesn't take up that much time in my job, right? Like comparatively to the other stuff in many ways. And the more difficult stuff is the things that's outside of that sentence, right? Like,
well, the more difficult stuff is the stuff that you're not expecting.
Yeah, exactly.
To have to deal with.
Exactly. Like assisting an editor, especially if you and an editor have a good working relationship, can be, it can be so easy, it can be so fun, it can be so breezy. It can be just the litany of other tasks and other things that come down the pipeline from any facet of place that can make things a lot more complicated about what you have to do.
I mean, I don't know if you've gotten this response before, but when you tell people like what you do, you're like, oh, I'm an assistant editor. Like, oh, what have you worked on? And you might tell them, and they're like, you edited blah blah blah.
Oh,
and
I get
I'm
that
like,
all the time. No,
I'm
I
like,
didn't.
no, that's, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's easier for them to understand that you like the term, like, oh, you edited instead of assistant edited.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing that I always get afraid of is if they go to watch this and they see edited by and it's not your name and they're like, you didn't edit this.
To me. Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I know it's like easy for you to comprehend the term editing than assistant editing.
And I also think like for a lot of people, I mean, even filmmakers included, who have never stepped foot in an editing room, like I think some people just like they have this visualization of how a movie is made that like you go out and you shoot the parts. Walter Murch has a great thing about this in his book where he's like, he's at a dinner party or something and someone asks him like, well, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm a film editor. And the guy goes, oh, so you just cut out the bad bits. Right. And I think like that's what a lot of people think filming is that like a film is perfectly planned from beginning to end. Mm-hmm. They shoot every shot deliberately, knowing exactly where it's going to go and how long it's going to be on screen for.
Which is not always the case.
Which is never the case. It has never been the case in the history of filmmaking. But like people think that. People, they think like, oh, you just go out and you shoot the bits. Right. And then the editor's job is to sit there for 2 hours and 30 minutes and assemble the bits because that's how long a movie is. So that's how long it takes to put the bits together, right? Uh-huh. Like it should only take as long as the movie is. Uh-huh. And then, when people actually step foot in a cutting room for the first time and they're just like, have somebody come look at your Avid who's never looked at an editing.
Right.
And they'll be like, what the fuck am I looking at? Like, what is this? Like, you got 30,000 windows open.
Oh, yeah. They're like, what is this thing with all the blocks?
With all these blocks? I once said this to one of the first I worked for. I was like, in many ways, we get paid to play with the most expensive Lego blocks ever. And they're color, especially because my Avid, I don't know if you do this, like it's all colorful. I have everything color coded.
Oh yeah.
So my Avid looks like this rainbow road looking timeline of beginning to end. And if you look at it, you're just like, you get down to it where like sometimes I do think I'm like, wow, this job is complicated and it requires a lot of technical blah 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 whatever. But then sometimes you're sitting there playing with blocks and you just think to yourself,
just playing with blocks.
I'm just sitting here playing with blocks. I'm sitting here moving one block to the left and one block to the right. I'm stacking them higher and stacking them lower.
This one's a tall block tower.
This is a tall block. Wow, look at that.
This is a complicated one.
This one's built of a lot of blocks. That one's built of no blocks.
I love that analogy, though.
Yeah,
that's so great.
The most expensive Lego set in history.
Yeah.
So since this is our first episode and we're getting started here, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about in general how you get started in the business and what the business looks like for someone who's brand new to it. So Lian, can you explain to me give me the rundown of a cutting room? Who's in it? Who's there? Why are they there? And generally kind of how did they get there?
So we'll start at the bottom.
Yeah, let's start at the bottom.
Start at the bottom. So, post PA.
Yeah.
And then there is the second assistant editor, first assistant editor.
Yeah.
The other thing that I always forget is apprentice.
Oh, apprentice. You can't forget apprentice. Which is
forget apprentice.
Technically beneath assistant. It's weird.
It would be post PA, then apprentice.
Yeah.
And then assistant, which potentially could be 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And then editor. And then if we're going to go on to the more office side, you would go post PA, post coordinator, post supervisor.
Yeah. I think sometimes people, this is one of the first things you kind of have to clarify to people who are interested in working in post is that the editor, they are, the term is an HOD, they're the head of the department, and that's true. But if you were to ask an editor to manage the day-to-days of a cutting room, they would get nothing done. Like, there's a movie that has to be made, right? And like, we kind of are forgetting that, but like, there's a movie that has to be made, and that's a really complicated, difficult process.
There's a lot of pieces and moving parts to it.
Oh, and every movie,
that we will get into, which is what part of this podcast.
Yeah, to bring in other people.
Yeah, and we'll bring in some people.
Bring in some editors.
Our editors. We'll bring in people who have agents.
Yeah.
Talk about the agent side of things. Talk about the parenting side of what it's like to parent while working in this industry. What it's like to be married or dating someone who's in the industry.
Or not, somebody who's not in the industry.
Or someone who's not in the industry.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what we hope to accomplish in this podcast and kind of inform people who might not know anything and are interested in learning about it, or maybe someone who wants to get into the industry and just wants to hear more about
how things work.
Maybe they can hopefully carry this with them through their experience. So thank you for listening to our first ever episode of Sips and Clips, where
Sips and Clips. Yeah.
We'll be sipping on... No.
We'll be sipping our way.
We'll be sipping while you're clipping.
We'll be sipping while you're clipping.
We're going to be sipping...
Catch me. Don't let me catch you sipping while we're clipping here.
Oh, God. We didn't even come up with a closing statement.
What's our closing line? We could just say, well, just thank you for listening to our first episode. This was fun. Lian and I had a good time.
I also had a good time, Michael. And catch our next one whenever it comes out.
Whenever it comes out.
Sips and Clips is a podcast produced by Lian McFalls and Michael Schusterman. Graphic by Max Schulman. Sound mixing by Zach Griffin. Sound editing by Ori Rendler. Follow us on Instagram at Sips and Clips Pod. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe.